helping them understand their worthiness. And it has to be an inside out job. You cannot tell your daughter over and over again. And I'm not saying stop praising her or stop, saying kind things, but her true worthiness cannot be outside in. It is an inside out job only. Always has been, always will be.
Welcome to the Intertwined Life podcast. I am your host, Jenny Zentz. I am a wife and a mom on a mission. I've got a passion to help women discover practical ways to apply the power of God's word to our everyday stuff. I truly believe that our walks with the Lord should be seamlessly intertwined with our everyday lives. It should affect every move we make and every breath we take. So come on, let's do life together. You've got this, because He's got you. Hey mamas, I don't know about you, but unfortunately we're already heading back to school around here in Florida. Some of us are already there and some of us have a little ways to go, but it's coming, it's coming. So whether your school is home or your school is far away or your school is the public school, Christian school, a hybrid of all, I have friends in every single one of those situations. Today's guest is going to bring some amazing things to the table to help us with those young women that God has entrusted to us to raise in this crazy world. I'm talking with Nellie Harden, and Nellie is an author, a speaker, and a family life and leadership coach, and she thrives at helping us learn how to lead our daughters well so that they can then enter into adulthood knowing how to lead themselves well. We are talking about everything from comparison and social media and perfectionism to finding their true worth and how to enter a room knowing that they don't need to seek validation from anyone else around them, that they are already entering, knowing their worth, finding it in the Lord, in the truth, and how to just walk in that boldness and that confidence, but also how we as moms can confidently walk alongside them in some times that are not only difficult, but honestly quite different than some of the things we went through. So I know that you're going to love this interview. This is actually just part one. So come back in a couple weeks, catch the next part of this, and then you're going to want to head to Nellie's website where you can get all the great freebies she has and learn so much more from this rock star mama. All right, here you go. Enjoy this interview. All right. So Nellie Harden, welcome to the Intertwined Life podcast.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I'm excited to have you here. And we were just saying there's lightning and thunder outside the window, so it could be a very interesting episode. So hopefully we'll all stay strong and have some really cool background sounds.
I think that'll mean it'll be amazing.
Yes, extra power. Nellie, I'm excited to have you here. Nellie is the mom of 4 girls, and you coach parents and you really help with the focus of helping us learn to love and lead our tween and teenage girls, and especially for those girls to help them learn how to do that themselves for themselves. And such a powerful thing. I think this is just going to kind of be a little therapy session for me, but I'm excited to have you here to share with us your heart and your expertise and all that the Lord has led you through, I'm sure, and taught you so that you can pass on to others. But before we dive in, would you just share a little bit about yourself, your story, your family, hobbies, whatever you want to share, and what brought you to this place in your ministry?
Looking back now, I really see how everything was leading here. But when you're in the moment, of course, you're like, no, of course, that it's not even a possibility. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But so I grew up, it was just my mom and I in the beginning. My dad passed away when I was super young. I was just 1 when he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And then she remarried, had my brother and sister in there as well. But there was a lot, to deal with in childhood, but it was fine. I had a good childhood. And then I left home at 17. I graduated early. I moved 7 hours away. And really in that time, I started going down some darker paths, and I didn't even realize it at the time. And I, of course, didn't have the language back then as a 17-year-old, but as a woman now, and especially as a woman raising 4 daughters, I really did not have a foundation of worth, let alone esteem and confidence that have to be built on top of self-worth. And when you release a young woman out into the world without those foundations and worth, they start seeking them in any way possible. So
Yes. Yes.
that's when I'm chasing grades, I'm chasing relationships, I'm chasing friendships, I'm chasing any accolades
Mhm.
I could get. And anything that was, sparkly as far as worth, I was like, oh, I must have it, because if I do that, then I'm worthy, or I'm
Yeah.
worthy, right?
Yeah.
And so it's this complete backwards. And I will also say I did not grow up in a, active Christian home at all. And neither did my husband, who I met my freshman year of college.
Mm.
And so then we were trying to do this all in a very worldly way.
Sure.
And so that made it even that much harder. And we didn't really come to Christ. And well, not really. We didn't come to Christ until our 30s.
Gotcha.
And so that is a beautiful story. I would love to do a show on
Yeah.
a different show on sometime, but it was just this beautiful journey that we went on, and we went on separately, and then we were together in
Mhm.
it, and we really didn't even know what was happening. All that to say, we've been through the hard, we've been through the worldly, we've been, living. I completely understand secular living because I was there for 30 plus
Yeah.
years, right? And then it was 12 years ago that I really started devoting my heart and life and everything that I have to Christ after all four of my kids were born.
Mm.
And so they were young at the time. They were 5, 3, 3, and 1 when we started attending church and serving and really getting into the word, but it was still such a journey. And so I still consider myself, a newbie in my faith, even though
Mhm.
it's been 12 years. And when we went in, we went head over heels in. I mean, that first church service we went to, and it was Christmas Eve 2010. So
Yeah.
I guess it's over 12 years ago now, but
Yeah. Crazy.
but the lights went down, the singing happened, the message came on, and I was like, I'm home. I'm home.
Yeah.
And it's been a beautiful experience ever since then.
Yeah.
But then all of the tools that I've gotten since then, and my entire background, my career has been in biology and psychology.
Mm.
And so I used it in animal work first, in the
Oh,
wild,
yeah.
captivity, a lot of
What a great
husbandry work.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of husbandry work, a lot of training work, and marine mammals in particular.
Wow.
And so then in 2012, I was just really called. We went through a long period with my husband. We almost lost him, heart condition.
Mm.
And I was just it was in my face. I was like, I have these four young women, and I could easily look at them and say, oh, I have these four babies or these four
Yes.
girls, right? I'm raising children, but that's not
Mhm.
what I saw. I saw that I
Mhm.
am raising young women
Yes.
here. And that is a profound responsibility. I only have a certain amount of time that I get in order to do that. I will
Mhm.
always be their
Sure.
mom, 100%. But there is this impact zone of what I call the 65-70. That's how many days are in 18 years. And it is unique to any other time that they will have in their lives, that we will have together in our relationship, or an opportunity I will have to pour into them and impact them.
You're making me cry. I'm down to like 3.5 years
I
on my
know, I
daughter.
know. I
Yeah.
mean, mine are 18, 16, 16, and 14.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I get it. It was just very profound. And I started working, and all of the things that I had learned in my career in biology and psychology, all of the things I had to take in all of our family dynamics for the past 2+ years, and
Yeah.
turning our family around, and disciplines for my husband's heart condition, which three of my daughters have
Wow.
also. And so all of those things just started building into what I do now, which is helping families raise these young women with worth, esteem, and confidence.
Mm.
And so they can go out into the world equipped to do their unique, job, whatever that is
Yeah.
to do in this world. So yeah,
Good.
it's a little
So
long,
good.
but long. I mean, a little version of how I got here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, there's, like, only a million different ways we could go here, right?
I
And I feel
know.
like everybody listening is
Only.
thinking, "Ask this, ask this." But since I'm the one with the mic, I'll ask whatever, you know? And I definitely want you I'm sure that as you journey and as you spend time with the Lord and he continues to develop your ministry and your heart, he brings different what I call passion points, different things
Mm,
that right now this is where I'm camping out. So I want to talk about that. And but what I want to do is I'm going to lead a few questions that you can field, and then if there's like you want to go off on a rabbit trail, we will go with you. Let's go there. We will do it.
sounds good.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is helping girls today in the face of perfectionism. And I think in my notes, I even said perfectionism on steroids
Mm,
because, growing up in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whatever the parents grew up in now, we didn't grow up in the face of social media. And it was
right.
already so hard. It
Yeah.
was already so hard, and I feel like all they see if they're on social media, and that's, another animal, but that highlight reel. We
Right.
see what everybody else is doing, we see the one perfect picture, the one what looks like everybody's so happy on this great outing or whatever it is, especially as firstborn females.
Hmm.
I'm a firstborn female, raising a firstborn female, and I know that feeling. How do you help them navigate that false perfectionism, but that sense to feel like they're always striving for what's just out of reach?
Yeah, and same, firstborn female, raising a
Mhm.
firstborn female. And it's hard. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that.
Mm.
Social media has added a whole different level. Virtual world in general has added a whole level of complexity to parenting
Mhm.
that we did not have. And so then we're teaching something that we don't have a foundation of.
Yes.
But let me just, kind of give every parent listening to this an injection of courage here.
All right.
Even though we did not grow up with these devices in our hands, these comparison machines
Mhm.
always feeding into us, we still can relate, right? We absolutely
Mhm.
can relate. It's just that, like you were saying, it's on steroids today,
Mhm.
right? And so you can still connect and you can still bring clarity to a situation there because I promise you, we all have these situations of, yeah, when I was in seventh grade, I wore this sweater and then, somebody else wore this and it looked better on them and then I was like, oh, right. And it's just the more minute version of
Mhm.
what is happening today.
Mhm.
Okay, so just an injection of I promise you can relate there. But I also want to say we can't take perfection off the table. There isn't something that you can just say, stop trying to be a perfectionist, stop trying to compare yourself. As many times as you want to say to your daughter, don't compare yourself. You're special. You're beautiful. You have these attributes, right?
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
goes in one ear and out the other
Yeah, just like it did
because
when we were kids.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I remember just the other day I was telling one of my daughters, she was like, "Do I look okay?" I was like, "You look beautiful." And she was like, "Of course you would say that. You have to say that, right?" And so they don't hear that necessarily, especially from us because they think it's our job to tell them that they're beautiful. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, I would tell you if you had lettuce in your teeth, you know?"
Yeah.
But going from that, okay, so if we can't just take it off the table, what do we replace it with? And that's where this worth really comes in, helping them understand their worthiness. And it has to be an inside out job. You
Yes.
cannot tell your daughter over and over again, and I'm not saying stop and stop praising her or stop,
Sure.
saying kind things, but her true worthiness cannot be outside in. It is an
Mhm.
inside out job only, always has been, always will be.
Yes. Yes.
So how do we start building this inside out, structure of worthiness on a foundation that they are building? And that this gets into a little bit, later we can talk about differences between first half of childhood parenting versus second half of childhood
Yes.
parenting
I wanna go there
because
too.
yes, because it is very, very different.
Yeah.
And first half of childhood parenting, you're building, some things there, but second half of childhood parenting, there's a pivot.
Yes.
And you need to be aware of that as a parent that is coming up. What do I need to be on the lookout for? How do I need to change my behaviors toward my daughter
Mhm.
and my son too? This, so much
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just parenting work here. But think about it this way. First half of childhood, you are building a boat for them. Okay. You are building these things. They might be in the house, they're playing, but you're
Mhm.
like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go out. I'm going to build this thing for you. That is when you are telling them what to eat. You're telling them what to wear. You're telling them who their friends are. You're telling them where you're going, etc. All the things.
Mhm. Mhm.
You are the decision maker. Well, then at some point they come out and you carry together this boat down to the water. They get in the boat
Mhm.
and you're standing on shore and
Mhm.
you are teaching them all of these things. And there is a rope that connects you. And some days you let that rope out more, and some days you got to reel it all the way back in.
Mhm.
And then it's this constant dance back and forth during the second half of childhood. And it's like, oh, this is what you do in a storm. This is what you do on calm days. This is how you provide for yourself. This is how you do this. And then they have questions and you talk, and there's constant connection and communication there.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they go off. The rope gets dropped. They go off. You live at the lighthouse. They come back. They
Mm.
ask you questions and things, but they're off on
Yeah.
their adventure. Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
And so in this worthiness that we are building here, you have to think about, okay, I am worthy from God. You want to do God, self, others. Okay?
Yes.
That's the
Yes, yes.
inside out process. God, self, others. And so I am worthy by God. He chose me. This master designer designed me. That super cool, amazing, butterfly that was on National Geographic that you're like, whoa, that same designer designed you.
Yes.
And how your brain works, the left and the right,
Mm.
the gray matter that you have, and all of those connections that are being made are beautiful connections that are partnered with the world around you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first, just knowing that they're chosen, they are worthy because they were chosen, so that they are worthy so that they can do something, not they have to do something so that they are worthy.
That's good. That is good.
And that's where we really come in. So you have to be worthy, understand your worth from God, understand your worth from your own perspective. I am worthy. I am worthy, right?
Mm.
And then look for it out in the world, but it can't be your primary source. So when we do that, then things like social media, things like walking into a new school or walking into the cafeteria at the school that you've been going to since kindergarten or what have you, it brings on a whole new perspective
Yeah.
because you are not looking around for people to give you worth. You already walk in with it.
Hey, friend, if you enjoyed this episode and you got some good stuff out of it, there's a few options you have. One, you could click that little subscribe button. And also, if you would review this podcast, oh my gosh, if you like what you heard, get on there, give it a 5-star review. If you didn't like what you heard, just pretend it never happened, okay? But if you would do a review for me, just take a couple seconds and do that. Not only would I be crazy excited, but also it would just be a great way for us to partner together, for you to help this podcast be seen by more women out there. And you could be a part of helping more women discover these practical ways to apply God's word to just everyday stuff. So I would love it, love it, love it if you could help me out in one of those two ways.